Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Now a while ago a company asked me to review an SSD. Storage isn't my forte if I'm honest, but we all have to start somewhere, so I thought why not get some practice in first, and that led me to buy this, the cheapest SSD I could find on Amazon and on AliExpress too, retailing for just $10 US. This is the Sunbow X1 and it has a picture of a missile on it, so it must be fast, right? Well, either way, I thought it would make a great boot drive for one of my aging desktops, so I guess the first thing we should do is see if it works. I'm going to be adding it to my Dell XPS PC today and installing Windows 7. After a rather crude and untidy installation, I powered up the PC, booted into the BIOS and was relieved to see the drive was recognised. I then began the process of installing Windows, which took a swift 25 minutes from start to finish on this Phenom X6 and 1050 system. Immediately I regretted not spending the extra £3 on the 32GB model, but luckily after a quick disk cleanup I had a couple more gigabytes to play with. To test it, I ran Crystal Disk 6, an SSD and HDD speed test tool that can be downloaded for free. After running the test, these were the results. For those of you who know more about storage than I do, you'll know that this is more of a 7200 RPM hard drive score than an SSD score, which isn't helped by the SATA 2 interface this thing uses. What I'm saying is that essentially this isn't really much faster than say a Western Digital hard drive for example. In fact it's a little worse. But I will say because it's an SSD it is silent, so if anything it wins the award for that. So if it's slower than a modern HDD, is there any need whatsoever to buy one? Well, as I said before, I bought one because I thought adding it to a much older PC might speed up the boot times if I installed the operating system exclusively to it. To test that theory, let's compare the Sunbow to this, a 160GB WD SE SATA drive pulled from a decade-old machine. As you can see, in side-by-side results, the cheap SSD wins, so for $10, pounds or euros, it might be worth reinstalling your OS exclusively on something like this in an aforementioned office or home setup if your boot and loading times are getting a little sluggish. Speaking of which, I compared the startup of the Sunbow to the old Western Digital and found that the cheap SSD booted Windows almost 3 times faster. But remember, it's no quicker than a modern day hard drive would do it. I found that out when I added this to the equation, my WD Blue HDD. Running Crystal Disk again revealed that the read speeds on this were much better and the write speeds were nearly identical. These speeds can also be reflected in the loading times of games, which were actually a little faster on my newer hard drive. Good job I ordered a 32GB drive too that would actually fit the games on. To conclude, this SSD isn't going to outperform your new hard drive if you built your PC recently. What it will do though for a very low price is improve the boot and loading times of an older system, providing it supports SATA connections. If you've got an aging HP or Dell machine, something like that with a ton of personal files and documents on, and you don't want to get rid of it because you don't want to swap things over or whatever the reason, then you could pay a tenner, reinstall Windows 7 or 10 on this thing, and at least it would improve the user experience that way. When shopping for SSDs, always check your drive speeds first with something like Crystal Disk, and then compare it to the speeds stated on the SSD manufacturer's site. In addition, there are other brands out there that do offer faster and not much more expensive options than this, so don't always rush in on cheap deals. I don't usually review hardware like this, but I saw it on Amazon for a very low price. Thought, why not? Gave it a go, and it turns out it wasn't really all that quick at all, but as I said, it may be worth using something this cheap in an older desktop that really could benefit from faster boot times. As always though, I hope you've enjoyed this SSD review. Thank you very much for watching this video. Leave a like on it if you enjoyed it, leave a dislike on it if you didn't, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and hopefully I'll see all of you in the next one.